All right, let's talk about something very practical. As you are planning out your worship set, this should not be the end all be all for your worship set. You need to take the themes of the songs and the guide, use the guide of the Holy Spirit to take you from point A to point C, D, E, or F, right? But as you're doing that, pay attention to how the keys line up, the keys of each song. Now, whether or not you're musically inclined, it's very helpful to at least have somebody who knows how different keys work, or if different chords fit together with different keys, in order to go from one thing to another. So, for example, the key of G. All right, if you're in the key of G, there are pretty much four chords that you're going to find most commonly in the key of G. That's going to be a G is your one chord, your four chord is going to be a C, your five chord is a D, and then your minor six chord is an E minor, okay? Now, that being said, if you're going to another song in another key, if you pick a song in D or a song in C, then you know that it's going to go pretty well if you want to flow musically from one into the other, because a D is the five chord in the key of G and a C is the four chord in the key of G. All right. Now that might all sound like gibberish to you, and that's why you need some type of instrumentalist, someone who's had some type of musical training in order to help you out with some of those. Now, the easy one is if you have two songs in the same key, you can go straight from one into the other. In my case, these are both kind of older songs, but I do How He Loves in the key of C, and I do Reckless Love in the key of C. And this past Sunday, we had a wonderful time singing these songs in one of those Super Soaker worship moments that was the Holy Spirit guided me into crafting it pretty well this past Sunday. And it was cool because we went from Reckless Love, then we went into the bridge. There's no shadow you won't light up, mount you won't climb up, coming after me. And then instead of coming back into the chorus, at the end of that bridge, we landed really hard on the one chord. And we got to scream out, yeah, he loves us. Oh, how he loves us. So How He Loves became a response to Reckless Love. And then at the very end of How He Loves, we went back to Reckless Love's chorus. It was really neat to be able to go back and forth in between those two songs. But the only reason that we were able to do that is because they were both in the same key. Now, that being said, especially if you pick a song in one key and then the four chord of the next song, sometimes you can find the melody in there and go straight from one to another and have a key change, but it's really tricky, and I wouldn't just dive right into doing that. Now, that being said, you can use the circle of fifths. If you know about the circle of fifths, you can use the circle of fifths in order to help you get from one key to another without having a break in between. But if you're going from two very different keys, if you're like in G sharp and you're gonna go to, I don't know, A sharp or something like that, and it's a whole step off, or I don't know. If you're doing funky key transitions, just end the song. That's a good time to have a little word to say or a prayer or something. Just end the song right there and then go into the next one. Start over, okay? Your worship team knows that you need a good break there. You don't have to have a musical transition in between every song. If you have lighting, it's a good time to tell your lighting guy, hey, this is a great time to cue a blackout in between, and then as we start the next song, you can bring the lights back up. Okay, it helps to create a little bit of flow, a little bit of moment. And if you have a good keys player that has a nice pad sound, you can go straight from one pad as it fades out, and then take your fingers off, and then a new pad before the new intro comes back in. Okay, so don't be afraid to do hard cuts, but you don't want hard cuts between every song. All right, you really do want to create a sense of flow. Really do want to create a sense that the service is continuing. All right, one thing always leads to the next. All right, and that just takes a lot of practice and communication with your band, or just confidence on your part. Don't be afraid to strum the last chord and then start shuffling papers, to get to the next song if you really need to.